Welcome, and join us for our retrospective journey when these jobs were common and helped to feed families. These jobs were available at a time when there were no computers to help us with daily tasks. Things were slower and much more simple without the technology that assists us with our work life today. Let's take a look at the jobs that once existed but have since been phased out. As we take a journey of vanished professions, you'll get the feeling of what life was like and what used to be important. It will even make some of you nostalgic for the simplicity of life before computers became a common practice at work and at home. Imagine delivering milk into a little door connected to someone's home, or being a switchboard operator to connect calls. If you're ready, we're going to dive into rediscovering the forgotten jobs that people did every day. A teleprinter was commonly used during the early development of computers in the 1950s. They allowed typed data to be sent by a computer. A teletype operator was a line of communication that would type away all day long, sending and receiving teletype messages. They were often used in law enforcement agencies and in field operations. While it had its advantages, we suspect that teletype operators suffered from sore shoulders and fingers at the end of the day. Back in the day, teletype operators would relay important news to be broadcast as well as intimate tales. There was a time where you'd have to do a typing test to land this important job, and you'd have to prove you could type at least 60 words a minute. The digital age made this once essential job totally obsolete and is now a thing of the past. Gone are the days of VIP services at a gas station. Gas station attendants were once a staple of any gas pumping experience. Customers would sit in their car and either say they wanted to fill up or state how much money they wanted in gas. Gas station attendants didn't just fill your car up with fuel though. They also cleaned your windows, checked your oil, and would normally chat you up. Back in the 1950s, going to the gas station would be like visiting an old friend, as these attendants were hired for their friendliness and willingness to help. In later years, you would pay more for full service, but as gas prices got higher, people started to save where they could. We're pretty sure this is a job that won't be coming back with the popularity of electric cars. You might be wondering what a pin setter does exactly. Their sole job was to ensure that bowling pins were reset after they were bowled through. This wasn't a job that just anyone could do, as it took a certain person to set them just right. You would have to have a love for bowling and understand the importance that people had for the game. There were no strings or mechanisms to pick up the bowling pins, so people with this job would manually stand the pins back up. These pin setters were so fast at getting the pins back in place that bowlers never grew impatient. Needless to say, their job was important for the game. While bowling is still around today, there are very few bowling alleys that still have this vintage vibe of the original setup. With new technology, the bowling pins are set automatically by a machine that does exactly what a pin setter does of the 1940s. If there is a pin setter somewhere out there today, it's probably the same labor of love that one would have had long ago. The milkman was an important job in a time much simpler than today. Before dairy alternatives like almond milk and soy milk, everyone would just drink milk. It was considered an essential part of any diet. There were milkmen delivering milk, butter, and cream right to people's doorsteps from the 1920s to the 1970s, and it was always done with a smile. This service would exist in eras when there was an emphasis on human connection and personal service. Milkmen would have relationships with the people they delivered to, where smiles and conversation were abound whenever he arrived. The milk delivery experience kept people using this method to get their dairy despite the onset of fridges and grocery stores supplying milk. Eventually, it would be phased out for a variety of reasons. The milkman is still discussed today for a variety of reasons and is a testament to the slow, easy pace of life long ago. A knife sharpener, also known as a cutler, was an important job to have back in the day. A cutler would come door to door offering their services. They would ring the doorbell and see if there's any knives that needed to be cut and perform their magic right on site. They needed to have precise skills, so not everyone could do this job, and they brought a grinding wheel with them wherever they went. The days of a cutler reflects a time where quality was important to people, and they would often buy something for life because they were also quite costly to purchase in the first place. Today, there are so many options and things change all the time, so this style of purchasing isn't nearly as common. A cutler's service was indispensable when it was relevant, and they were truly masters of their trade. This was a viable career to have up until the 1960s, as they could sharpen a variety of different items. Knives, scissors, and workshop tools were built to last, so instead of replacing them, a cutler would sharpen them, making them good as new. In more modern times, the convenience and affordability of these items have phased out the demand for knife sharpeners. So today, this once important job is just a fond memory. The elevator operator was once a staple part of day-to-day life. While it may seem like a simple job, they didn't just push buttons to get people to the floor they were going to. They were elevator hosts that would make sure everyone had a comfortable upward and downward journey. They would hold doors open and sometimes help people out of elevators. They also paid attention to what was happening in the building with their job, so if anyone was in distress, they could always help. With the onset of tall buildings and the need for transportation between floors, elevators became a new and exciting invention of the beginning of the 19th century. This job title was widely available up until the 1970s, where elevator operators could manually control the lifts and take passengers to their floors. Riding an elevator during the time these operators hosted the lift was always a nice experience with friendly banter and a smile. This profession has all but phased out once automated elevators started replacing manual elevators. Today, you'll still see movies with an elevator operator that are based on the past, but that's about as far as it goes to witnessing this nostalgic service. It's highly possible that the cocktail servers of today got their inspiration from the soda jerk of times gone by. From the 1920s to the 1960s, the job as a soda jerk was common in almost every town or city that you lived in. They didn't just put pop in a cup either. There was a lot of fancy moves and impressive displays of liquid being dispensed into your glass. Luncheon lingo and fast responses were necessary for this fast-paced position. It was often a coveted job for young people looking to make some extra cash. They would often wear a particular hat as part of the company profile. The job gave customers an experience that kept them coming back over and over again. So what happened to the soda jerk? Well, as people started getting busier, quick bites and canned soda replaced the dining experience that was popular over 4 decades ago. For over 100 years, a film projectionist was responsible for making a movie run. The worker had a few important tasks to create a fantastic viewer experience. First, they would have to load the film reels into the projector masterfully. There were usually 6 or more reels of a full-length movie, so they'd have to quickly transfer the reels to make the seamless movie experience. They would also have to tend to light sources, inspect movie reels, and rewind them for later use. They would even be responsible for repairing the film and all of the equipment, so it was a very technical job. These were truly the stars of any show, though they were never given the same recognition as the main characters in a movie. From the early 1900s until the digital era evolved, a film projectionist was a high-end demand position, and it's now just a distant memory. The switchboard operator job was an interesting position in that it was usually a job that women would be hired for. In the early 1920s, AT&T became a telephone monopoly, which came soon after Alex Graham Bell created the first telephone. They were America's largest employer at the time and employed women as their operators. To connect callers, they would plug wires into inputs on the switchboard and always greet people with a smile. Each connection was personal, and these operators became a vital part of the community as people could more easily stay in touch. It wasn't an easy job either, as an operator would have to get familiar with the myriad of wires. As technology evolved, the system to connect people to each other changed. The human connection hubs were then replaced with digital systems, and no middleman or middlewoman was needed. When there was no digital alarm clock or mobile devices to wake a person up, there was a personalized service to do the job. There were people with the sole profession of waking people up with a stick. Knocker-uppers would wake up early so they could wake others by banging a stick up against homes of sleeping people. Until the 1940s, this was a fail-safe method to be woken up. So what changed? Well, alarm clocks became more reliable, and it wasn't necessary to have a person wake you up by banging a stick against your house. If you enjoyed this Back in Time video, check out our other videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it truly helps our channel out.